Yo, yo, what up, Internet? Welcome to I Can't Produce a Podcast. I believe this is episode number 22, and welcome. Once again, my name is braV, and I'm here joined with my new friend, Danforth. Welcome to the podcast, Danforth. How are you doing today?
I'm doing real well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Um, so, just a quick shout out to anybody who knows Danforth. I've been listening to him kind of when I got into the Particus scene around 3 or 4 years ago. You make really trappy, wonky beats, and you just listened to Americana or Americano. Oopsie, Americano. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Will you please tell me a little bit about that beat? If you remember making it.
Yeah, so that one was from this, I think it was like one of the first EPs I really put together. And I remember just not knowing what I was doing in terms of like when to release it. And I think I released that EP I released it like on New Year's or whatever when everybody was all off and busy.
Right. A little.
But that was a cool one. That one took I feel like that one of all of those might have taken some of the longest.
Really?
Like the initial idea, I always get the majority, I feel like, of an idea out in like one or two writing sessions to try to be quick with that.
Uh huh.
Um, but yeah, that one getting the white noise bases and everything else right and figuring out a second drop. That's always been my Achilles heel, is I like writing every single section outside of drops.
Really? You don't like drops,
I don't
huh?
think I don't think I'm good at them.
Why is that?
Um, I've never been like that whole song. Like most songs of mine, rarely is like the drop something that's not like isn't like a weird resampled sound. Because I'm not very good at synthesis and like I'm okay with Serum and can do some basic stuff, but I mean you're talking about the Particle Boys. Like when I'm hanging out with Run It, Gurf, like all of them, like their sound design is ridiculous. So I never thought I was quite on their level. I always like to resample stuff in Ableton and just put super weird effects and kind of go with a throw it against the wall and see what sticks method.
So kind of less intentional sound design, kind of more. Well, isn't that's sound design? I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
like I had a rough idea. Like I knew what the effects were gonna do. I knew how I kind of wanted it to sound, but it's more of just like okay, I know how these tools work. Let me see what kind of weird stuff I can make from this.
mm,
Um, rather than being like, I want to make something that sounds exactly like X. I think that a lot of happy accidents can come that way,
you mean kind
and
of
like
like
that.
having greater control?
Yeah, I just mean like because with that kind of resampling style, like you got your effects that you can just drop different sounds and pitch them up, put different stuff on there, and just kind of see what happens. And at least for my workflow, it works better because I feel like I get caught and snagged on, automation's not working on other VST like synths or something like that, or just not getting what I want out of it and getting stuck. Um, so that's why like resampling, that was kind of like from my homies who were producer mentors for me. They were big on resampling and doing stuff like that. And after learning from them, that's kind of just the direction I went in.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, that's pretty much why I made it like that, and kind of the influence from my friends who I learned a lot from. Um, Two of them, one actually lives in Fort Collins, and they're still in Denver. They produce under Gangus and Kin. If
Almost
you've
sounds
ever
like
heard of
Genghis
either of them.
Khan.
But yeah, no, definitely check out Gangus's music. Check out Kin's music.
I
They've
think
got
I've
Doma. They're on Dome of Doom and stuff like that.
How do you spell Genghis? Just like Gangas?
US.
US, Genghis. Okay, you got it.
He hasn't
Oh,
dropped anything in a while, but his old stuff's crazy. Um, and then we had another friend who is no longer with us, unfortunately, but he produced under Dr. Derg, and I learned a good bit from him as well. And
that's
Dr. Derg
unfortunate. I'm sorry.
actually, yeah, he actually has he's got a couple tutorials where they've just got the Ableton project file open, and it's on this. Funny, it's this popular, like basically that's popular now. They were making way back when, but if you look up under SAP Secrets of the Pharaohs, and he's got two tutorial videos on sound design and breaking down how he made a couple of his songs. Very, very informative for anyone who's new trying to make this sort of like experimental bass music.
Big shout out then.
They talk that resampling, and like I could show a little bit how I used to do it, but they also do a phenomenal job at that. So yeah, definitely check that out. There's so many producer tutorial YouTube gems out there if you get past the like clickbait top 10 things not to do, type ones.
Yeah, the top 5 things that are keeping you back from $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you gotta find the good under 10,000 view tutorials.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Who do I have? I used to have a few people followed. Like, I mean, Reed Stefan, the realest puppet in the game. I don't know why I'm giving him a free plug. He does perfectly well for himself, but that dude's dope. And then Underbelly's You Suck at Producing
Yep.
is pretty good. Definitely watch some clips from him as well.
Yeah, I remember I can't produce and you suck at producing are a little bit of the same in the same vein. Totally didn't realize that you suck at producing was a thing when I started my whole project.
Yeah, it's all good.
No, he's great. I love his music too. Not only does he do great tutorials, he makes
Yeah,
wonky
he's got some
stuff.
good stuff.
Yeah.
He's got some good stuff.
Yeah, no, most people when they're starting off, I feel like it's really hard to make the jump from even when you're DJing, it's hard to make the jump from like how to DJ or produce like house music and like trance music to like, all right, it's really not easy, but here's one. A lot of the tutorials were like how to make house tracks or like certain dubstep tracks, and then like getting into the experimental side of things. You don't
Yeah.
there's not a lot of great tutorials for that are super popular because there's just so much clickbait out there, kind of like saturating
Oh yeah.
things.
I mean, and this is a pretty niche scene. So if
It
anyone's
is
trying to
definitely a
do
niche thing.
electronic
Yeah,
music and get views doing tutorials, they're gonna
yeah.
do like how to make flume like saw bases and stuff like that. Saw synths and all that.
So on the topic of niche scene, how did you kind of get involved in the scene and like what was the story or journey from little Danforth to Danforth putting out music on SoundCloud and hanging out with the
um
Partica boys?
I remember summer, was it? Yeah, summer like 2012. I just remember being home and I was really I got into like dubstep around like eighth grade, ninth grade. And summer of 2012, like before my junior year of high school, I just remember like there was this new genre. People were talking about trap, and remember I had like a trap music playlist with like 3 songs in it. I remember it's really funny now because like Harlem Shake was one of them, and then there were two other like
Oh
random
yeah.
ones from producers that never like blew up, but that super early super early trap scene. I remember hearing stuff in all the early Flosstradamus, and I just really liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
same here.
I loved the drum patterns. I loved the energy behind it. I just took to it a lot. I don't know why. It just became my favorite subgenre very quickly. Um, because I just like the high energy stuff that and dubstep. I like house and other stuff now, but at the time I really wasn't into any. I didn't like any of that stuff, and I just like trap. I like dubstep. That was kind of it. Um, and yeah, I mean, just kind of the usual suspects. Like I remember when the Flosstradamus band mixtape came out. You know, the really early RL Grime Halloween mixtape stuff like that. Um, and then a big turning point for me was the end of that same summer, I found Mr. Carmack by accident on YouTube.
Hey, 3 podcasts in a row. I think Mr.
Yeah,
Carmack has just come up, bro.
yeah, of course.
What an OG.
I mean, he kind of there's no real denial that he kind of birthed a portion of like what the scenes turned. At least some of the stylistic choices and like things about how the genre I feel like kind of works.
I
Like you
completely
didn't hear it
agree.
before him.
I just didn't. I just yeah. No, wow, you're right. I don't think I really attributed so much of it to him. I didn't. I don't think I realized how. I guess he came out around the same time as Troy Boy, so I feel like that should be.
Yeah, well, he had all his early stuff, and I remember like finding he had like a couple different YouTube channels. He would post like chill stuff and everything else. But I just remember like 2012, like early 2013, like he just wouldn't stop dropping music. That was when like I remember early 2013, it was like you were checking SoundCloud every other day, and it would
Right.
be like a shocker if he hadn't posted a new song within like 3 days.
Right.
Or at least he'd do like a couple a week. This is it's just his overall workflow was just insane. Um, and there was just nothing that sounded like it. Um, and then I had a buddy of mine who like cracked Ableton,
Yep.
started messing around with it. We were both big like music nerds already, and he started messing around with it, and he was starting to like make a couple cool beats for like when you're a high schooler just messing around and getting into it, you know, nothing nothing super
Yeah.
either of
Nothing.
us would call good now. But I remember being like, damn, like he's making this, people are stoked on it, like he's excited by it. Like I want to make music too. So my buddy Grant, my other friend Graham who had it too, they kind of inspired me to try out Ableton, and I would you used to be able to get a free trial of Ableton if you just put in an email and you'd get a month.
Right.
And so for like I don't know 6 to 8 months, I was just making new emails and continuing to have these Ableton, and then eventually they were like your IP address is downloaded this too many times, and it's like they got me. Um, and I
And
just
then you
got
hopped
it.
on the VPNs, right?
Well, I eventually I was just like, I don't think that this is gonna be like it just didn't feel like this isn't gonna be a phase for me. I'm just gonna make the investment. And I just bought it on my birthday.
Nice.
Um, and haven't really looked back since. But man, those first honestly, like I'm always impressed by anyone who's been producing like under 3 years and is making crazy shit. Because for like the first 2, 3 or so years, like my shit was horrible. It was just downright awful while I was figuring it out. Um,
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Drums weren't hit, but yeah, like because some people were like, "Oh, let's go back and listen to our old beats. It's fun." It's like that you will not have a fun time listening to mine. I'm thinking like a lot of like ambient stuff with like really underwhelming drum. That was just Oh man. Um,
Maybe. Well, I remember I made a lot of ambient stuff too, and I should
mhm,
probably go back and listen to it. It's just not what I wanted. It's not like I wanted
mhm.
crazy drums, crazy sound design, crazy drops, and I was just like, well, if I hold this note really long, sometimes it does little fluttery things in the background. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I ended up making a lot of ambient and soundtracks and stuff because of that. Part of the learning
I mean,
process,
it's
but
fun. Yeah, no,
yeah,
of course.
yeah. It just maybe not bad, more so just not directed.
hmm Yeah, mine the sound selection, whether it's drum sound, synths, whatever else. Like there's some great stock Ableton sounds, but I don't think I was using them.
Right. No, I didn't.
I
I
was
didn't
I
understand
was
how
using some weird ones. Yeah.
stock Ableton is pretty phenomenal. Um, and then you just get bombarded with like plugins, sample packs, all this stuff.
hmm
Um,
Well, I feel like when I started too, like you could go on Reddit and find like drum packs maybe, but like the sample pack whole scene has really taken its own form in like the last 3-4 years, I feel like.
it's gotten a
Like
little bit out of
it's
control.
exploded. Oh, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, I think it's dope how accessible it's making good quality like drum sounds and like source material to work with.
Right.
Because for the longest time, like all the biggest producers, the Timbalands, the for like all that, they were just gatekeeping all the best drum sounds.
I completely agree. It
That's
was
that's why like because produce like if you had the dopest producers, it was just like, oh, they got all the best sounds. And be like, oh, does anybody else have that kick? And they're like, nope.
nope.
And yeah, and they'd be trading, and you just couldn't find high quality stuff. Now you can. Um, and I'm down with using loops and stuff like that. But I think if it's like a melody loop on a drum loop and that's it, and you're calling it good, like I
Yeah.
think you should dig in more and learn how to make that stuff yourself and be creative. Like there's a time and place for all that stuff, but I think it allows people to cut corners a little bit. But overall, I'm still very pro
Well,
all
maybe
that
that's
stuff.
how I think that's how those producers that you're talking about that have been producing for under 3 years get all these awesome beats. Is probably because I remember getting arrangement down
hmm
and but having just like an awesome sample pack is it's not easy, but it's easier than kind of manifesting a sound and then manifesting that idea that the sound gave you.
Oh,
Um,
100%. I felt like anytime I would get a new sample pack from somebody I really liked, I knew I was going to end up making one of the better songs I'd made in a while because it just makes it, it's like the song can write itself because you've got all the sounds and a certain vibe
yeah,
right there.
the
You're
vibe
not
is
getting,
there.
yeah, you're not letting your workflow get stopped by trying to find the right patch in Massive or Serum or whatever and then tweaking it. Um, so no, I think for the most part, all that stuff's awesome. I think it's been a net positive for producing and everything else like that. It just little oversaturation, stuff like that. But man, if I wish I had Splice when I started, that would have been dope.
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty tight.
but yeah, I feel like the turning point for me was the first summer I spent out in Denver, and basically my cousin's freshman year next door neighbor in his dorm was Dr. Derg. So
Oh, okay.
it was
Yeah.
over the summer. My cousin's only a couple years older than me. He was like, "Yo," he only lived like 5-10 minutes walk from me. We all went to University of Denver, so we were all in the DU neighborhood.
Gotcha. So did you
And
do
he was just like, "Come through." Hmm?
you moved from Montana to Denver?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I
Gotcha.
did, yeah, did school in Denver
Nice.
before getting out to DC for the grad program.
Gotcha. All right. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Oh no, you're good. You're
Let's
good.
stay in Denver.
But yeah, the first summer I met them, like I had like he had told me about them a bit before meeting them, so I started listening to them and just become just fan, honestly,
Yeah,
of Dr.
just
Sturg and
a lot of
Genghis. I was just like,
exposure.
yeah, I was just like, this shit's crazy. They're getting on, like at the time, those Team Supreme beat ciphers were all the rage. If you're familiar with Team Supreme.
That sounds familiar, but
Yeah, it's like this beat collective out of Los Angeles, California, and it was like the whole friend group of like Mr. Carmack, Jemba Jemba,
oh no, I did
Chike
not.
Cambe,
I
like
was not familiar.
Great Dane, Dot, all those fools who were all friends. Yeah, they would do these. At first, they were like weekly, um, these weekly ciphers, and then they became these monthly ones where they would give you a sample. You'd have however much time they said. Usually, it was like a couple days to a week, and then there'd be any other rules or constraints based off of who supplied the sample and what they wanted to do. And then
Right.
they would just pick through the best submissions and make a mix, like a little like 30-minute
Oh,
mix.
that sounds
So it
super tight.
yeah, and it was like I mean at the time it was like a big deal if you could get on because you had a lot of people submitting. You had big producers who were already very well established who just fucked with them who would get on there, and like you never knew if people were playing beats out at Low End Theory, at shows, whoever else. People start following you after like because it was like a cool way to just discover, break new artists and all that.
Right.
um so yeah, they were getting on there, and I remember that was always a goal of mine. But I just remembered, and it's something that just stuck with me, like especially this was in like the golden era of SoundCloud when like one repost could drastically change everything.
Right, dude. Wow.
And I
Yeah.
remember
No,
like
that
just a
doesn't.
couple early a couple early
Reminiscing.
reposts from them, and never like being weird about the oh, can you repost? Like I knew if they liked it they would because I didn't want to be like that. And I just thought it was cool how nice they were and open to showing me stuff. They weren't just like as long like so I made it clear like I just wanted to be homies and friends first, and I wasn't trying to have any angle towards
Clout chaser.
yeah, none of that. None of that. Um because like Dr. Dirk was really, really starting to pop off by then, like right around when I don't know how familiar you are with music, but he has a very big song called Depression, that he had pretty much just dropped right when I started hanging with him. If you're not familiar with his music, I highly recommend going through it. It's some of the
I'm not. I
it's
will be.
still
I'll be
some
honest.
of the craziest music in this genre we both enjoy.
Hell yeah. How do you spell it?
Um
It's D-U-R what?
I'll just shoot you the SoundCloud link in the Discord chat. I'll keep it easy.
Sweet.
Um but yeah, I just loved to like we would just hang out, watch stupid shit like Eric Andre's show, all that, hang out with the dogs, work on music, all that stuff. And remember, I was trying to make like a lot of like boom bap. I guess we could almost call lo-fi boom bap now, but at the time, just like boom bap stuff. Some
Yeah,
of them
lo-fi
were,
boom bap. That's kind
and
of
I
fun.
always wanted to try to make the trap bass stuff, but just like the technical, like it was just so hard, I could never execute it right. And then through like them teaching me things, I remember I don't know if I might have it private now, but like the very first song I made was the song called Chopped. That was kind of my first like bass song, trap song. Um,
So
and
was there
then
was there
the
was
rest
there a
was history.
moment where things did click? Because I think I had a similar experience where I was making everything but experimental bass trap. I was like, fuck,
Mm-hmm.
I can't crack this. But like I was making lo-fi. I was making video game soundtracks. I think I was making like just piano, like poppy beats, and like they didn't sound bad, but I was just I can't do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a moment or like a tool that you discovered where like things really started coming into play?
I think um let's see. From just getting a better under because I feel like I still didn't even I felt like I really started to understand how Ableton worked better in
Hmm.
that like period of time I was talking about. And I think the first turning point was I dropped this song called, which one was it? Yeah. So I had, this was unfortunately, it was like right after he passed was pretty much when I felt like things started to click.
Mm.
I made this song 2:30 that I remember. I think I've made it private. Maybe I should make it unprivate because it's got so many plays because everyone else liked it and I don't think it's good. But I just
Classic.
I figured out that I was just what I'm good at is drums. That's what I've always been best at.
Okay.
That's what I kind of think my signature sound comes from more than anything else is just drums, drum patterns, everything like that.
Okay.
And I remember just making this one song where it had like a really simple lead, but the drums were hard, and I like showed it to some friends and stuff, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this one's crazy right here." And I feel like that was the kind of the turning point where I was like, "Damn, I really made this one myself." Like it's rough around their edges, the mix is bad, you know. Of course, we could say that all listening back, but that was kind of the point where it all clicked because I understood resampling. I was starting to kind of understand arrangement a bit more. And yeah, that was kind of the turning point, like 6 or so years ago, and I felt like I really started to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then the one where like I knew I had it figured out was Drunk Off Funyuns.
Drunk off onions, bro.
That song, which is still up. It's a ridiculous one. It's got like I think it's got like three different drops in there. It's a strange one. A lot of like resample grain delay sound type stuff. That one and then Stress.
Are those on your page?
Yep, they're both
Okay,
on my page.
great.
Stress especially. That was we're talking about sample packs making a big difference. Genghis had just dropped his first ever sample pack, and I remember making Stress with that in like a day. So I'm a firm believer you make all your best stuff in the shortest period of time.
I'm starting.
You're just in the flow. You're not overthinking stuff, and it's totally okay if you've been in the flow and then you start to get caught. Just be like, okay, I'm gonna put a pause in this, and then come back to it with fresh ears. Like the artists I'm working with now, we do that all the time, and that's how we end up finishing way more songs.
Is
Not
kind of
letting
like
not letting yourself hear it too much. Because it's
Mm.
really easy to do that and get caught up in something, and it's like go listen to something else and like kind of clean your ears out, and then when you come back kind of forget how it sounds and then come back to it and it'll be fresh again.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I need to, because it's my personality, I guess.
Yeah.
Are there any songs that you've been working on for like a long time that you haven't kind of like tossed to the side?
It's a good example of that. We were talking about like Americana kind of took a while.
Yeah, like if is there a song you've just heard too much, like released or unreleased?
I mean, Americana was one. Footwork was one that I really, really took my time with and didn't kind of try to overdo. Outside of that, my very first Particle release, Toxin. That one was like months.
Months, huh?
By
Wait,
the end of it, yeah.
so,
Because
Tux.
like when I sent it to them, they were like that, like they liked it, but they didn't fuck with. I think it was either the second. They were like, you need to fix. They're like, we'll do this, but you have to fix like this drop, and I was like, okay. So it took a little bit, but made it happen. So that's one. You always have those couple special ones that like maybe it's a new style you like to try, or maybe you really like the melody and you just like it's just a special one you don't want to give up on. And that's like totally cool. That's totally fair.
Yeah,
I just think if you're in like a raw, I'm just trying to get ideas out mode right now,
right.
that's when sometimes it can be good to put things off. But like finishing songs is important. So whatever it takes to do that, if it takes a while, that's fine. But I always find myself like right around the 80% mark. That's when songs either take forever and never get finished because you're always adjusting and tinkering and this, that, and the other, or you just commit because that's the hardest part is deciding when it's done.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that one, honestly, all of my Particle releases took those songs took a while because they are all like each time they were like we like this but just fix that or do like we'll take it, but yeah, so there's definitely something to be said for that, or even just like I've held on to beats for a very long time waiting to come across the right person to get on them, and that's
Oh
paid
yeah.
off as well.
Oh, that's a good strategy. I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard this a long time ago. Someone was like, any time you have an opportunity to like play someone beats and try to get any kind of placement, whether from a friend or some artist you admire, always play your best stuff. Don't ever hold back
Yeah.
because the next time you do that, in theory, you'll be better if you keep producing. Because as we're both producing more and more, we're both getting better and better each day a little bit. Um, so there's no reason not to always have your best foot forward. I remember that always stuck with me, but there'd be a couple that like people would pass on or you'd forget about in some folder or just be like, oh, you know what, this would be best if I was able to get someone with this type of voice. And then it's like the second you find someone like that, it's like, okay, this is the first one I'm playing.
Gotcha.
um so I've had that work out before as well. um
So
but yeah, no,
you kind of molded your taste for music in Denver, which makes sense.
a bit, yeah.
Yeah, because they're real wonky over there for sure. Um, and
Yeah,
then
it's mostly dubstep. Like it's mostly just really hard face melter dubstep. Like there's definitely a lot more so now. Um, like especially with the emergence of like the black box venue and other stuff like that. Like you're
yeah,
seeing, Ivy Lab sell out and all that other stuff, which is dope. But I felt like at the time you had like the main kind of stream trap or you had dubstep, but a lot of that weirder experimental bass stuff some people were into, but they weren't really fucking with. Like I had like friends who would be playing that opening for just the classic Denver dubstep type scene
yeah,
dudes, and
maybe some
people just wouldn't.
rhythm
Yeah, exactly. And people just wouldn't know what to do.
and more
Yeah,
drugs, people, more drugs. That's what you
yeah,
do.
exactly. Like,
Oh man, I that's funny. Yeah, I always associate electronic music with just like open mindedness, and it's not always the case.
no, dude, I watched my friends almost get booed off stage one time because of
Damn,
that.
that sucks. But
Well, and it wasn't even their fault because the person who was supposed to go after them like dropped out, so they had to do a longer set.
yeah.
And like the headliner was like barely alive in like Dak Daniels or something. So it's just like fucking aggro face melter dubstep. And they're out, yeah, exactly. And they're out here, like blending rap songs and doing all kind of like stuff with really weird sound design, everything else. And like it didn't have that like just stompy beat that they can just,
Jump
ride the rail
to
to.
yeah.
No, they just want to do the headbang.
Oh yeah, you're
Like
right.
everybody just wants to ride the rail and do the headbang. Um, no, like I'll never forget that. And then watching like that scene and that sound get popular there. Because everybody talk about like, oh, Denver's like so nice, and I'm like, nah, I'm like watching dudes like booing people in between hits off their box vape. It was ridiculous. It was quite a scene. Like I thought it was a great show. There was like a crew of us in the middle, like getting down, having a good time. But yeah, I remember that night at Cervantes' other side. That was a time
Dude,
for sure.
that's insane. Almost getting booed out for Wow. I've almost gotten booed off, but that was because I was playing dubstep at like a fucking sports bar, bro. Like there's a difference.
Oh yeah, that'll get you.
That'll get you.
That'll get you. I DJ'd bars in college, and I would sneak like a couple trap songs in if I thought they would play well based off the crowd that night.
That's
But
what I would do.
I knew what the crowd wanted to hear there. So
Yeah. I did what was it?
fine line.
Around 1 a.m. because my bar closed at like 2
Yeah.
a.m. Around 1 a.m. I'd have a little bit more leeway where I would just like I'd be like, all right,
Sure.
I'm gonna play Kendrick over, like one or two bass songs, and no one's gonna notice because I went to school in Wisconsin and people like to drink themselves blind. But
Yeah,
I
you guys
guess
have I think you guys consume more alcohol than any other state. I'm
yes,
pretty
yes,
sure.
we do.
Or you've
And
got the most bars per capita because you got all the houses that are just like bars,
yep.
right?
It's a really concentrated city because the city is concentrated and completely tied to the university, and I think because of that, they just put bars everywhere to make everyone
Yeah.
happy. But yeah, no, Madison. Sorry, I went to school. I went to school in Madison, not just
Okay.
Wisconsin in general. Whoopsie.
Yeah, no, I've heard Madison's got a bit of a scene up there as well.
It's funny. Madison's scene is pretty good, but my theory is that it's just because it's pretty close to Chicago and like most of the big. It's only like an hour, like and a
I mean,
half away
yeah,
from Chicago.
between that and the university, that's what's gonna play.
Yes,
And even where
exactly.
I'm from in Bozeman, the only reason that there's concerts and a slight scene is because there's a university. So
Yep, true.
it's only like 50,000 people, but
But they can sell a couple tickets, hopefully.
yeah, exactly. There's some people who are interested. But yeah, that was definitely a molding period was in Denver, and then I kind of felt like I went through another one once I got to DC.
So tell me more
Um,
about that.
yeah, so I got into a graduate program for audio out there at American University, moved to DC, knowing basically all the only people I really knew were like the particle guys.
Really?
We were in the chat and stuff like that talking. We'd never met in real life. I didn't really know anyone out there. I would hop in their little like beat review live stream deals at the time, and they would occasionally try to host these meetups. And like, I remember I didn't have a car or anything like that out there. And I kicked it with them for the first time. Like I moved out there right in the end of May, started June, and my birthday's at the end of June. So like I hit them up and I was like, "Yo, guys, it would be like awesome if we could hang out because I'm not trying to spend my birthday like alone in a city where I'm still just starting to get to know people."
Right.
Um, and I remember if you're familiar with Rafter, phenomenal producer, he's taught me
Yeah.
a lot as
I'm a
well.
big fan of Rafter. That's for sure.
Like I felt like my bass sound design really got a lot better because of him, honestly. He came down having never met me before. He came down from Annapolis and
Oh,
picked me
nice.
up, and then we went to Gurf's house,
Nice.
and got to kick it for the first time, and the rest was kind of
And that was for your birthday?
history. Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was
sick.
for my birthday. Finally got to meet them, kick it, work on some music, just hang, general debauchery. It was a good time, and that was kind of the period when I was most into the just trying to make bass music, other stuff like that. That's how that was around the time when like I dropped Gone and Gurf and I first did Tippin', other stuff like that. That was a good era. Yeah, that's when like a lot of my releases on other channels and pages and stuff like that were kind of starting to come out and come to fruition. I was really trying pushing to do that. But DC was also when I shifted and kind of got away from bass music a bit because I was working live sound at this venue and I was also still making like rap beats and other stuff like that. And I remember when I played those for like my coworkers, it could have been like the coworkers my age or the ones who were like 40 years old, the kids. And I remember like they were like, "Oh, these are dope." Like, you made this? Like, that's cool. They're like, I'm not with EDM stuff, but I really like this.
Dude, that's
And
my
just kind of, and
reaction
I
when
was
I
just
show
like,
people
shit.
experimental bass. It's the same
Yeah, I was
thing.
just like, shit. Yeah, because I have like a lot of people who are like, I always wanted to like, support you and stuff, but I could just never get into the weird experimental, super wonky. Because like I like it, but I'll never judge anyone because there's some like very like abrasive sound design. Like it's supposed to be very weird and challenging to the ears, but not everybody's gonna like that, and
Right.
that's
Well, it's
fine.
not. It's active. I call it active listening and passive listening. Like if I,
Yeah,
I can't really. Well, because of my experience, I can. But like, passively listening to like fucking experimental bass music or really heavy rhythm is not what most people are into.
no, no,
Yeah.
that's a great way. That's a great way of putting it. Um, and like even now, because I remember even then when I was making that stuff, like I wouldn't find myself listening to it a ton unless I was like at a show or DJing for like whatever else, because it just wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't trying to like passive listen to it as much, I guess. But yeah, that was kind of that era, was just trying to hang out with them here and there when I could, in trap songs, doing
And
all that.
what were you studying at American University?
Um, like audio engineering, the technical degree was like audio technology, I believe, but it was audio engineering.
Cool.
Um,
And did that kind of veer you towards other projects or like other types of work that wasn't experimental trap and all that stuff?
yeah, I mean, it was just like learning how to record and mix in Pro Tools and stuff like that. And that
Gotcha.
was when I like really realized I was like, I want to be a producer engineer and just do like a lot of rap and maybe some pop or whatever else, produce whatever else. But I
Yeah.
want to be like recording. I want to be producing for artists.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of learned then, was like I want to produce for artists, make their process easier, because that's what I think a producer engineer should be there for.
Right.
Um,
I completely
because that's something
agree.
I struggled with initially, is just keeping the beats open but full, like interesting enough that someone wants to get on it, but they have the space to do so. And yeah, that's when the turning point was for me. I'll see if I can find one of my. I'm just worried the sounds aren't gonna pop up if I try to pull up an old project file from one of the experimental
Are
bass
you on
songs.
Windows or Mac?
I'm on Mac, but like a couple years ago, like my whole system got like bricked in a way, and like all the samples ended up in different files than they were originally.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see
So
what you
then
mean.
Ableton couldn't find like anything.
Got you.
Um, so not great.
Not what you
That did
love, not
not
what you
that did
want to
not make
see.
my life easy. But we'll see what happens. Is there anything like, because I could always open up a blank one too, and we could go into something if there's any
True.
questions you've got, if there's anything you want to see or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Because like I've never really been the guy who is just like, oh, let me show you like my crazy serum patch and all my routing and stuff like that's
Right. Well, I
that's
mean,
like
I
what
guess
Run It and them are great for.
I
But
got. Do you have like a favorite plugin or tool in Ableton? Like, it'd be nice to just see like how you typically go about using one thing that you like to use.
sure, here I've already got this beat up. I'll share my screen and we can kind of, this is like a little, we'll see if this turns into a good beat or not
Nice.
later on. But yeah, I'll share. I don't think I can share the audio, but I can at the very
It's
least share my
possible
screen.
on the Mac. Mac usually makes things pretty easy like that. Windows, you gotta fucking enter in some cheat codes and do some, I don't know, smoke signals.
Discord will not be able to record the contents of your screen until it's quit. What? I've screen recorded on Discord before. I don't want to make us quit out and stuff like that unless you do.
Well,
I just don't want to get you while you're streaming, but
if
I can
if you blub
close it and
in and
reload it.
if you blub in and out, that's fine. I'll just play
Oh,
some.
okay. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be back in like 10 seconds.
All right. In the meantime, a little word from our sponsor, LSD. LSD helps you focus on what matters in life. And if it weren't for their sponsorship today, okay, he's back, I think.
Yes.
All right, sweet. I was doing a little
Little ad
ad read.
read?
Yeah, a little ad read.
Nice. Who's today's sponsor?
LSD is today's sponsor.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. MDMA was last week's sponsor.
Gotta keep it interesting, right?
Yes, yes, I do. I was gonna play some music, but instead, I just decided to do an ad read. All right, cool. Let's get this
So
on.
here it is.
Let me
Let's see here. You can still
wait,
see everything. I just switched so I can see the project file instead of Discord. You can still see it all.
Yeah, I gotta make you full screen. And boom, here we go. All right.
Beautiful. So first off, I've got a template that I have pretty much always. There's a couple extra things in here, but I always have like a little drum group. I use this kick on everything, and I have been for maybe 3-4 years, maybe longer. Yeah, like this, like I firmly believe that this is the best kick sound I've come across, and I can EQ it to sound a lot of different ways. I'm still occasionally making songs with different kicks, but just the way that this hits, that's why and this template's a big reason why in those Particle beat battles I'm able to just churn stuff out so fast, because I've already got this kick and I've already got this clap that I already use. Everything else in here was added, but I've always got this kick and a clap. I've got a couple audio channels, and then I've got a little drum rack for percussion, because and I'm also a psychopath where I like to make my drum patterns in MIDI in clip view. And I know everyone hates that. Like anytime I work with anyone else and I'm not in this view, I'm not in arrangement view, I'm in this view and I'm doing it, they're just like, why are you like this? But that's just what I do at the very start. And then when somebody records stuff in a starter, then I'll switch to this view. But yeah, so this is my template. Honestly, we can just go to a fresh one so you can see exactly what there is. Yeah. Well, slowly start tinkering with it, so every time it opens for your like save to default, so it just pulls up. So yeah, this is it for me. I've got, as I was talking about, drums. I've got my kick and clap. I've got 2 extra MIDIs, 2 audios, and then the drum rack. I've got one 808 that's got a couple plugins I like, FabFilter Pro Q3, and then this SP. Oh, thanks. Yeah, because it's all grouped, it's all nice and organized. 808, I've got SPL twin tube on it. The SPL bundle from Plugin Alliance is amazing. I couldn't recommend it. Yeah, SPL. Like I had a friend who cracked it forever ago, but then once I got this computer and everything else, I was able to get it on a good deal. This and another one I'll show in a bit. Phenomenal for bass design. They're going to pull out some harmonics and stuff like that. On the drum bus, I have this Waves API 2500 bus compressor. And I usually, honestly, it's kind of lazy, but I just go to the drum settings and I pick drum kit 1. And this is, I tinker with these settings here. But this is how I get, this is what soft clips my drums and gets them to smack very hard. You can do it with glue compressor. You don't have to use this. I like how this one sounds. I like how just immediately it makes my drums just hit the listener in the chest. I like it a lot. I think that's a big thing with like when people are like, oh, the drum pattern's good, but they're just not hitting right. Like there needs to be some like clipping, some like kind of compression to change how it sounds a bit. So yeah, I've got that there. And then I've just got a couple different like groups with nothing really in them because this template was made back when I was still making more stuff that was electronic music related. So, you know, you got your synth pad, you've got leads for drops, any effects, box, stuff like that. And then I just have all my favorite sound VSTs. So I've got an Omnisphere, Arturia Analog Labs, Output Arcade, which is the shit, honestly. At first I was a hater about it, and I was like, oh, but then I actually started using it and liked it. Contact, Addictive Key is really nice. This is a really nice piano emulator. It's a lot cheaper than Keyscape, and I think just as good quality. And usually on like Black Friday, you do these sales where you get to pick like 3 instruments. It's, it's called Addictive Keys by XLN Audio. Yeah, Omnisphere's the shit. The only thing I hate, unless there's a way to do this, and I just don't know, is there's no way to like, if you make a sound, I guess if you make a sound, you can save it as its own thing. But like, if you find a preset you like, you can't like highlight it or like it or do something to where it's easy to find later. Like you just have to dig back. You just have to dig back through the abyss of everything, and it's like almost. That's what I like about Arturia Analog Labs. Like, yeah, you can just put a heart right there, and then you can just go to your favorites by like instrument, and it's perfect. So yeah, this is right. No, yeah, because you just have to. It's like a workflow thing. But yeah, this is the rough template. I'm just a big believer in it. Whatever you think what you think you need, like I knew this is what I need to get my idea out as fast as possible and not spend time like looking for something. Like honestly, I might make some changes right now. Like I'm gonna add the tuner to the 808 bass channel because anytime you put in an 808 sample, might not be in key. It's always slightly off. Um, you know, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Oh no, it's just a standard group. There's nothing. It's just the drums are in a group. The drum sounds go through the compressor on the group, and then it just goes to the master. There's no different routing or anything like that, though. Oh yeah, no, like I said, these are all MIDI channel. Like the kick and clap I have, those are MIDI. The drum rack that I have, that's MIDI because that's how like once I get kick clap hat in, that's when I try to fill in with some weird percussion and fills and other stuff like that. Um, oh, like drums and audio versus MIDI. Um, oh yeah, it's like a whole war. It's so dumb. People get so mad about it. Um, but I think there's benefits to both. Personally, I like MIDI better. And I like MIDI better because if you have a pattern you like, but you've decided you want to change a sound, you can just drop a new sound in. If it's an audio, it's an audio. Like you have to drag it in, you have to delete the other stuff out. You have the whole thing, or you have to just make a new channel and put it on the same thing. I've never been a big fan of drums and audio outside of like fill sounds, percussion sound, like certain extra flavorful pieces, like to spice things up. But that's just how I learned. I always just did drums and MIDI from the very, very beginning. I like seeing them on the MIDI grid and being able to just nudge stuff to give it that swing. That's what matters most. If you're someone who works in audio and you can get your drums to swing well in audio and you're happy, it's working, it's quick, like, and keep it in audio. Like, I try to get all my non-drum related sounds like into audio as quick as I can, because one thing I've learned over the years is, like, when shit crashes or whatever else, even if you've saved recently, like, the VST might go back to default and you're gonna lose your patch. So just yeah. So, and it also forces you to commit to the sound, you know? And that's easier to do than others, but, like, if you just have, like, some chords or whatever else and you know it's gonna be looping at the whole first half and the very end of the song, like, bounce that to audio, get it out of MIDI. Cause yeah, I've burned myself far too many times on that. Um, but let's see here. Other plugins I use a lot, from that same SPL bundle in Plugin Alliance. Um, the Transient Designer and the Vitalizer MK2T are very good. And Vitalizer, this is actually once again bringing back up Rafter. He's the one who showed me this. This plugin is based off a piece of gear that was made for, like, yeah. Oh, can you not? You can't see the VSTs. Fuck. I think I did share window. Um, was that the wrong? Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to it just gives me an option of oh, screens. There we go. Yeah, we'll just go entire screen. Cool, yeah. So this is yeah, so these were the ones I was talking about before. These are great for bass. All of these are. Um so this is what I like in the SPL bundle. You can get these plugins on sale a lot of times for like $30. Um Transient Designer, very, very nice. You can get any yeah, yeah, of course. So let's take our clap sound, right? Or our kick, maybe. The kick might be better. Yeah. So you see how this kick, you can see right here, kind of has a sharp hit to it, right? Your transient's going to be literally on the, when you're looking at the audio information in like waveform, and there's that little like uptick where it's like the peak. It's the sharp peak in a sound. It could be that harsh hit in a snare. It could be the punchiness of a kick. It could be the pluck sound from a key or a bell hit or whatever else. But the transient is going to be that like peak sound kind of hit or whatever else. And it can be like, some people describe snares or kick servers like kind of like sharp, kind of like, like too punchy or whatever else. So what you can do is you can one basic way to mess with that and fix it, you just mess with the attack knob. And you hear the difference pretty immediately. I don't think you can hear my audio. Yeah. So that's basically what it is. So you're taking this peak and you're think of it as like rounding it out. You're taking something sharp and you're dulling it. Like, so with your attack knob, on your transient designer, or just an attack knob in general on the stock Ableton, FL, whatever you're in, there's going to be an attack. There's going to be ADSR. There's going to be attack, release, all the other stuff. So the attack knob, if you bring it into the negatives, it's going to shave off that sharp, harsh peak. And so it's not going to be as punchy, if that's what you want. If you want kind of like a squishier kick or a less defined sound that kind of fits in the background more, do that. If you need a kick to cut through the mix better and it doesn't have as much of a peak and it needs to hit harder, you're going to boost it. Yeah, I would still think, yeah, I would think of it as like, I would think of it as like a mountain peak, like a point. Because it's like, it's sharp. It's going to be, because that's going to be the loudest point as well. It's going to be the harshest, loudest point is going to kind of be that transient. Like especially in a snap or a clap. That's why like a lot of times when you hear something and it like hurts, it's because the transient's too harsh. So that yeah, exactly. So you don't necessarily need a really fancy transient designer. There's free ones, there's all sorts of ones. You can even just mess with your attack here a bit and fix stuff. But more or less, yes, because it's not like I wish I could just like what I would recommend doing in Ableton too is like find something really punchy and just play with this attack knob and just listen to the difference. Yeah, so the attack is your attack is how much time is going to go by before the sound like hits at full force. So like if you're just doing this in Ableton, if you give it more attack, then it's not going to come in as hard immediately. There's going to be that tiny bit of delay and it's going to be like a smoother, rounder that's like round is what makes sense in my brain. But yes, in this case, yes. And it's kind of the same on compressors. It's weird because I don't know if that's just with the Ableton one, because like on a compressor, if you have a short attack, the compressor will kick in immediately and it will also kind of round off those transients a bit. But if you have a really long attack on a compressor, because attack is just how quickly or slowly the thing's going to happen. If you have a long attack on a compressor, then it's going to keep that whole transient like a medium to long, and that's kind of that. So I hope that made sense. Perfect. With volume, yeah, I mean it's the easiest way to put compression is it makes loud things quieter and quiet things louder. Like it's gonna take your signal and kind of smush it in. So that's pretty much that. The SPL twin tube, this is just a great harmonic saturator. This just makes everything more intense, hit harder. You can put it on kicks, you can put it on really anything. And it's just gonna give it more harmonic frequency content. Saturation is just gonna hit harder. You can get stuff sounding kind of muddy and shitty if you use too much, but this is a great tool as well. And then I love this thing, especially after Rafter showed me how he likes to use it. And basically, this was made for like vocals and other stuff like that. But if you put 808s through it, they sound crazy. So your drive is just going to be kind of like a volume knob, almost in a way. It's going to be how intense the signal is coming through. This bass knob kind of is going to shape it a bit, whether you want there to be like a lot of sub and it be like muddy or kind of tighter, shorter, whatever else. And then the magic of the Vitalizer, in my opinion, is this process knob. If you bring it up all the way, it's going to take like all the high frequency information and only pull that up and make it louder. So it makes your 808s cut through a lot better and makes them more interesting because you're not just hearing the low end. Because I feel like a lot of, especially nowadays, like you need to have 808s that you can hear through iPhone speakers and computer laptop speakers and stuff like that. And that's coming from that mid to high end harmonics. That's what's coming through. That's what's interesting because like all the low sub bass content, you're not hearing that unless you have headphones or a system or whatever else. So this process knob, this is kind of pulling some of that out and it's going to make it sound really cool. So this thing, great. You by no means need it. You know, there's plenty of great sounds out there, but that's a great tool in my opinion. For a little more punch, a little more character, all that good stuff. I really, really, really like that plugin a lot. And then let's see here. Let's just go through my favorites and see what else we've got. It's something good to talk about. If anyone who's ever listening, they have a student email and they can get sound toys, you can get the full sound toys bundle on a student discount. That's one of the best deals for plugin bundles. I couldn't recommend that more. So another plugin, I guess here's one that I think is great, especially for this is good for everybody. I don't know anyone who doesn't like this, but it's really rare that I find plugins because I hate people who are like, I use this on everything. 'Cause it's like you rarely use something on everything, especially if you're talking mixing, but it's called Track Spacer. Very, very simple. This is what it looks like. This plugin is like $50. And what it does essentially is it's like if like are you familiar with sidechaining? Concept of sidechaining? Okay. Imagine think of it this way. You have a piano sound and a synth sound, and they're clashing with each other. If you put this on here, say you want the piano to cut through the synth a bit better. You would put this on the synth. And then down here, where it says sidechain in the input, you would pick your piano. So let's say our piano is coming in from addictive keys. Boom. So anytime, like, you don't even need to hear it. And see, like you see how this is kind of reacting up here. So what it's doing is any information that's going from the piano, this is going to make whatever you have it on duck, but it's not going to duck the whole signal because that's the issue with sidechaining sometimes is like when you slam something, the whole signal ducks, right? It can be a cool pumping effect for like house music sometimes, but what's amazing about Track Spacer is it's only going to bring down the frequencies that are conflicting in the two sounds. So if your synth is clashing with your piano, it's not turning down the volume of the synth. It's only specifically turning down the frequencies in your synth that are clashing with the piano. Does that make sense? It's it's super duper clean. You can still, if you want to do sidechain to bass and stuff like that, you can. And one thing you can do, you can add a little low cut, make sure like I'll put this when I'm mixing like rap songs and stuff. I put it on my instrument bus and have the vocals come from it. And then I make sure that the low cut is set at like 200 hertz because pretty much all bass, all sub bass, all stuff like that is going to be 200 and below. So we don't need to duck that. We don't need to fuck with that. That's also like basic tip for starters. It's not always going to be 200 every time, but low cut at 200 on synths and everything. If you're ever like, man, my kick and my bass aren't cutting through very well, like that's probably why. That's like step one. But this thing is a game changer. And I see like what I mean, I still use that compressor too. I think that compressor sidechaining with that I know plenty of people who use it on like kicks and 808s. You can do it that way. I think this one's a lot better when you have like instruments and certain sounds that need space. And I've never really tried it with kicks and bass and stuff like that. Because think of this as more of like a surgical sidechain to just give certain sounds more room. The other compressor side chain, I feel like is more of like a sound design thing. You could make it a sound design pumping effect thing with track spacer if you wanted to, but that's kind of how it, yeah, like that's how I kind of view it. Yeah, when it goes on sale, it's like $44. That's honestly the best valued plugin I think that exists is Track Spacer by Waves Factory. And like I work at a studio now, the really big engineers that come in, like plenty of them use Track Spacer, plenty of beginners use Track. Like everyone likes it because it's easy and it's simple and it sounds good. Not every plugin has to be a fancy $300 thing that's difficult and looks crazy. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Like taking stuff away, stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, man, I think using space as an instrument is really important. I always have.
You have made me agree just by being a fan.
And I mean, we're talking arrangement. That's what keeps arrangement fresh and instrument interesting. You take the snare out, or you take all the drums out in one spot, and then it all comes back in on when your snare comes back in. And it's a moment you do other stuff and you take everything else out, but maybe like a fill sound. And it's like it's that ear candy. It's
Yeah.
very important to have those ear candy moments in your beats and in your songs because that's what's going to keep the listener interested. Like a lot of huge beats on really popular songs that you can listen to over and over and over again, like any favorites you might have, they're all very simple
Right.
when you break it down, but the arrangement behind it is really thoughtfully put together. And when they're bringing stuff in and taking stuff away because it constantly feels fresh without it like being overwhelming and adding too many things and being too cluttered for the ear. It's just like
Yeah,
occasionally you're going to hear this. I'm going to take this out, and then you're going to have a pause moment, and then all the energy is going to come right back, and it's going to be like that's something that
it feels
no, I
new,
feel like
but it's not new. And
yeah.
I think a mistake that I've made is feeling like I need to not clutter, but when I look for big energy, instead of using space as an instrument, I'll just try and find a new instrument.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I've definitely been there too. It's just like, oh, we need to keep adding more. It needs to keep evolving. It needs to keep changing, all that stuff. But
well, speaking of
yeah.
evolving and changing, are you like working on other types of, are you like mainlining more project or different genres nowadays? Like, you mentioned rap a lot. I take it you're a rap fan. I think you like rap based on our conversation. What kind of rap do you like?
Like I think a lot of it has a place in the scene. I like most of it. I've always been, big on the Kendricks and people and stuff like that. I like some of the ignorant turn up rap that's more just fun, crazy beats, stuff like that. I mean, I've
Yeah.
always liked the good lyrical content rap as well. Whether
Is there, I didn't mean to just,
Oh, you're good.
No, well, if you like other genres too, if you're like into that or have interest in producing that type of
Yeah,
stuff
no,
too.
dude. I
Yeah.
like. I don't really. I make a lot of stuff, just not bass
Trappy.
music. Like I've got,
Yeah.
yeah, like I've got. Been making some house rap for people and just some house songs. Like I got bored the other week and made like a flip of a house flip of like a Baby Keem song, putting on Audius or something.
Yeah.
Um, I like all that stuff. It's really fun to make. I've got an artist I usually work with like every single week. Him and I have a couple songs out and just going to be nonstop in the future. His name's Rugby Wild, excellent rapper. Um, Check him out. He's on Spotify, all the places.
Fuck yeah, rugby. And you're what? So you work at at a studio now, man. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. As an audio engineer.
So I'm just like, you have to work your way up. So I've been a runner for like a year, but
What's a runner?
the promotion should be coming soon. Okay, so like big huge studios where you've got high-end artists and stuff like that coming in, you have runners who basically they maintain the building. They
Okay.
clean. They go
Yeah.
on runs for clients. When a client wants food from the pizza spot or like whatever else, you're the one going and getting it. You're making sure
Yeah.
everything's handled. You're relaying everything with the assistant engineer, who's the assistant for the room, handling everything. And you do that.
Yeah.
Because studios at that level, it's like it's a hotel without being a hotel. Like hospitality is the most important thing.
Interesting.
The clients feeling comfortable, everything else, like we're known for our freshly baked cookies that we make that people love and they're always asking about and coming back for. Like it's hilarious. Like, people love cookie. Like, we've got these amazing rooms with all this gear, all this history. It's where Michael Jackson recorded back in the day. It's where like a lot of people do a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And they're always coming back for the cookies. But yeah, like I record my friend just at home. I've got a little home setup.
Right.
You really don't need a lot. And I'll tell a tip for anyone trying to record someone at home for the first time.
Yes, please. Please, I need that tip. Just me
Yeah.
personally.
Okay, so most people don't have perfectly sound treated bedrooms, right?
Nope.
A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go put the microphone in the closet because it looks like a vocal booth. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because when people say like, oh, this sounds really boxy and sounds like really roomy, like room tone, like it just sounds bad. Like,
Yeah.
you can hear the reflection, stuff like that. What's happening is the sound, you're performing into the microphone, and then the sound is bouncing back off the wall and through the microphone again a second time. And that frequency is on top. It's the same frequency on top of the other one, but slightly delayed. And that's what it's called. Comb filtering is the fancy term, but that's just what that boxy roominess sounds like. That sounds like shit. So what you want to do, put your microphone in the center of the room.
Interesting.
Like
the
I literally
dead
have
center.
like in my bedroom setup, like when he comes over, I have like a chair and a microphone in the middle of the room.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's how
Are you
I do that.
reducing like the
Actually, I did a little
time?
if you follow me on TikTok, I got a little tutorial video that I did actually on how to record vocals in an untreated room.
Oh, no, I
And
don't.
I have my mic right there. I'm not very active on it. I need to be better about it, as people are always reminding me. But yeah, so what you want to do is exactly what I was saying there. Put it in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
center
put
of
it
the
in the
room, and
center.
then just make sure the mic isn't very hot, as they say, or like the gain isn't too high. And so
Right.
you really have to like. I would rather have it be quiet and then turn everything up in post than have it be hot and it's picking up everything and all the other sounds. And of
Right.
course, like light quality matters, but yeah, put it in the center of the room. Don't put yourself into a small and enclosed space, because that's a surefire way to get a bad recording.
Yeah,
Um,
especially if it's not treated.
yeah. So like I can so if I share not my screen, but the other thing, you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah, yeah. If you share the application, I should be able to hear it.
Okay. Um, you want like a rap beat or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. Give me something you're excited about. And if that is nothing, then something you're not excited about.
Well, it better not be nothing. That would be highly unfortunate. I'm not excited about anything. Um, fuck it, I got this. I got that baby Keem thing. I was talking about
Oh,
so before I had it.
I do want to hear that now that you bring it up.
Yeah.
If which
Uh,
song? I'm not a big Keem fan, but I know a few.
so applications untitled. Frame rate, smooth video, perfect. Okay.
Dope.
Can you hear this?
Yes, I can. I can hear
I
that.
think that's coming through my microphone though. It's
Oh,
coming out of it. Let me switch it to. You might still be able to hear it. Let's see. Can you still hear this? Beautiful. Okay. So we'll run through it a little bit. Drums are up here. Same deal. It's the template right here in full force. Um, I was lazy and I haven't put any of the like synths and stuff in the groups or whatever. And things are a little all over the place. But I've got some chords here from Arturia. Arturia is awesome. Highly recommend that, whether you get their bundle or the individual instruments, just good stuff. Output Arcade or Baby Keem Acapella. And then I've got some for the drop. It's like an AC Slater bass that I fucked with. Um, and this is actually, Gang just helped me put together this preset. So you hear that? All right, here's without the stuff on it. Yeah, so, but this is your classic. I know white noise, wide noise basses are very common and ubiquitous in the scene now, but for anyone who doesn't know how to make it, here's how you make it. You really just need erosion. I mean, like this EQ is gonna bring out some character, but you hear that sizzle. So when you open up Ableton, it's just gonna mean when you open up erosion in Ableton, it's just gonna be on noise. What you want to do is go to wide noise, and then you're gonna mess with this, and you're gonna want to bring it up here. This is gonna be your higher frequencies, boom, there you go. Oh, you can hear we can do the attack transient thing now. So you hear how punchy this kick is? Hold on. It's got a nice punch to it. Let's change the attack. You see, so you can hear that like click, that peak to it that it has, and then it slowly goes away. It, mm-hmm, exactly. So that's pretty much that. I'll play it through and we can yeah.
Yeah. First order of business, get this money, tell my shorty. Loyalty and gratitude, the only thing you swear me. Will you be the person that's gonna love me in my 40s? Fuck the ones coming for me, for me, for me, for me, for me, for me. Back and the drummy, 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 drummy. Fucking her employees, boys, 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 boys. The room was way too noisy, 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 noisy. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to make a stupid little tech house song. Oh yeah, the like bum 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 bum. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's an arrangement, right? You have a constant part of the way through. You have a little change here, and then you might do something at the end of the 4 bars that kind of lets people know that something new is coming. So that's thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. I could give you guys just like a rap beat, something like that. I put a really bait.
Will you be the person that's gonna love me in my
I think there's just yeah, there's like a Ableton EQ on it, but that's about it. They already sounded pretty solid, so I didn't mess with them too much. Yeah. So the last Baby Keem album, someone uploaded every single acapella for that song onto YouTube. So for anyone out there, if you like Baby Keem, you want some new acapellas sample for your songs, you know, at your own copyright risk, but they're there. They are there. Let's see here. I could do one of the like rap songs that I've got with my friend if we want to hear that, or we could just do a straight beat. What do we do? One more here. Okay. I want to do a specific one. Yeah, I'm gonna do a specific one because this beat is like a harder beat. Um, Perfect. Talk about keeping it simple and just changing stuff up with the arrangement. This is kind of a good example. And you'll get to see some of those bass effect sounds I had in full force and stuff like that. It's loading now. I'll mute the vocals at first so you can just hear it.
one foot in and one foot out exactly till we pulled in. Shot this on the full ends. It took too long, we all in. I'm only about my business, dog, and we expanding it. Know this shit on purpose like an amethyst. Don't let them force your hand to fist. Rapping like my life depended on it. I'ma need checks, percentage on it. God gave me the flow like I've been anointed. They ain't never look inside the mirror, they finger pointing. I'm past that, you niggas know it. Look.
But yeah, that's this one. This is actually just, let's see here. We got some bird textures kind of hiding in the background. I think I reversed them. Little background textures can go a long way. Those can be fun. I think this is just a little piano loop, nothing crazy for this one. Let's see here. Oh, let's see here. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So what I like to do with fills is I really like to take two fills and pick like pieces from them that I like and then make something new. So if you ever go on Spice just looking for fills or whatever else, sometimes I'll get a folder full of just fill sounds. And then I know I can just try to take a piece from one and put it on another, like Legos or some shit, like make something new. Because like preset fill sounds can be great too, but if you want to make something fresh, that's a great way to do it. And yeah, and you can see I've got fills like every 4 or 8 bars or so to signify that there's a change coming or there's something happening that's going to be different, right? Um, let me see. There's like one more beat. I don't know if I'll be able to find it though. Let's see. But yeah, that's pretty much that for this one. We've got our fills, drum patterns. Yeah. So let's get into it. It's gotten better since then. So this honestly didn't sound that good to me. But basically, I should be recording in Pro Tools because that's industry standard, but I like doing it in Ableton because we can just have the beat here and tinker with it. It's easy. So yeah, Pro Tools isn't fun. Let's turn this off. So first thing first, I have this gate. So anytime he's not doing anything or whatever else, little background noise, something like that. It's just gonna get rid of that. A gate, for anyone who doesn't know, you just set a threshold, or you basically say like if the sound is below this decibel, it's not coming through the gate. The gate closes. So it has to be a certain loudness to go through the gate. So that's that. I've got autotune, Antares, classic autotune, not crazy retune speed because I'm not trying to have a bunch on here. It's in the key of the song. Hmm? Oh yeah. So if you have your retune speed below like 30, you're not going to hear autotune as like a instrument as we think of it. It's just going to do very minor pitch correction. Even acoustic like piano ballad artists, there's still going to be a tiny bit of autotune or at least Melodyne or something on there. It's once you push it over a certain level, you can actually hear the autotune and it plays as like a more of an instrument almost. But yeah, so I've got that. And then I have an LA2A compressor settings at like 10 and 2, kind of classic. Basically, I just wanted to make sure I'm getting like 3 to 5 decibels of gain reduction. So it's gonna, when the signal gets too loud, it's being taken back down by 3 to 5 decibels, depending on how loud it's coming through. And then this gain knob is how much we're turning it back up by. Because that's what compression's doing, is, squishes it down, and then you're able to turn it back up. And that's why when you really compress the living shit out of something and it like loses its life, that's why, because you squashed it too much. So my compressor, I've got a little basic waves de-esser to get some of those harsh S sounds out of there. This slight little EQ, Ableton EQ, and then just the little utility gain to turn it up. Because I'm just trying to get it to sound good enough. I'm gonna, when I mix it, there's a hell of a lot more that goes on it, but that's pretty much that. All vocal chains, it's just gonna be like a preamp to turn it up, a compressor, some EQ, a little auto tune, a little of this, a little of that. I want to see if I can find one more thing, and then I might have to wrap up here soon, unfortunately. Um, it's all good. It's been It's been fun. Let me see if I can find what I called this one. I just finished and I'll pull it up. This is a fun one. Yeah. What do we just call it October? That's a thing. I try to give my projects like good names that are distinct so I can find them later. If you give it too basic of a name, it makes your life difficult. Right. Oh, that works too. There's nothing wrong with that. I would at the very least put the date in it or something, because the number of times or someone, yeah, oh, I always do the key in BPM, but the number of times like I've almost had a song I couldn't like finish and put out with this dude because I couldn't find the old project file for it. It was so old. But this one, this is like a fun Monty Booker type beat. Yeah, that's that. Yes. Thanks. So it's basically the drum, they're really just carried once I was talking about just carried by drums because there's a lot going on here. Yeah. Oh, this thing? Yeah, well, I found that it was like I resampled there's like a couple arcade layers, two different arcade layers that I put on top of each other and then just tinkered with it a little bit, bounced it to audio like that. And then I've just got some basic piano chords underneath. I did play these chords. I do not really play piano. I can play like keys on my keyboard better than I can on an actual MIDI controller. I do have them. I'm god awful at piano. I can technically play it, but I'm very slow. And like if I'm trying to come up with chords, it takes a while. A lot of times if I'm trying to do chords, I'll use like Cthulhu or something like that, where it kind of gives you chord ideas you can go from. Like I understand the theory. Yeah, I understand that. Ooh, scalar. I don't know that one. I'll have to look at that. But yeah, once again, keeping it simple for the most part. Bass, like if I turn, like listen to the difference. Like that, just it's punchier, it's fatter, all that good stuff. This is this with the compressor on it. This is without. Like it just hits harder. Yeah. Thank you. They're what? I think you cut out. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. A lot of times I think like this clap is like 3 layers. Yeah. So Yeah. Let's do it. So very basic. This is like the start of it, right? So clap is a couple. Yeah. Yeah, so just clicks there, all that. Then I found this. It's like a Monty loop. It just fit in well. And usually I would like add a lot of perks and stuff. But for this one, I felt like that was there. So all I added was like you can hear a little rim shot. You can see kind of. This is why I like it in MIDI, because you can just, like, I know where I want the sounds to come in. I know that on like the like 4 of it ending, the 2, you're gonna want like an open hat, something like that. So that's gonna be that. I got this. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. No, I want them to be like little spiced up moments, like. And what I'll usually do is I'll go crazy adding a whole bunch of percussion here, and then I'll just keep all the best stuff and take everything else out. Because once again, we don't want too much. We don't want it to be over cluttered. Because this beat is right on the edge of being over cluttered because it's got a lot going on. Like I'm not gonna be if this never gets placed by anyone, I almost won't be surprised because. Not too bad. Yeah. Yeah. And then bass, I just tried to. I don't think I really did it here, but you try to follow like the root nodes of chords for bass. And then at the end of like certain measure, at the end of like a little 4-bar thing, maybe you pitch one up. It's kind of like a little bass fill like I did, or do something to keep it interesting. Have an open hat come in with the kick and the bait and then like all that. Give it a little extra something, But yeah, so we've got that for the bass. This is just the hat. Played that in. I like to play in hats. When I can. Otherwise, you can just draw it in and then grab everything and then, command arrows. You can nudge it, right? For anyone because I remember when I first started producing and I had everything perfectly on grid, and then I was like, my drums sound like ass and robotic, and why is there no character and no swing? And it's like, yeah, because there's no swing to it. Everything's perfectly on grid. Like, I've tried to. You're talking about the MIDI effect groove thing, right? Yeah, I've messed with that. I personally like to do it myself. I've seen the groove because it's got like the MPC settings and all that. There's plenty of people who use it, and it's dope. So if you want to do that, do that. Another thing you can do is if you have your delay, like we see down here in Ableton, there's these like different things it'll show us that we can have or hide, right? I usually have everything but delay. If you have your delay open too, like if we wanted even more swing on the hat, add like, a few milliseconds of delay to it. That'll work. There's always a different way. There's always more than one way to do something. And that's important. Don't let anyone. There's like, of course, a few rules. Rules are known to be broken, all that. But so many producers think that they know the best way. They know the only way. It's like, it really doesn't matter how you get there. If it sounds good, it's creative, it's got character to it. Like, there is a very clear like male ego. I have the best answers. I'm the smart audio guy, and I'm gonna make jokes that you won't get and stuff because I know more technical jargon words and stuff like that. And like none of that matters. None of that matters. Especially once you're in a room with people, they just want to know that you can make something quickly. Like That's why like melody loops and all that, there's nothing wrong with that, because most artists are just gonna want to hear like that rapper I work with a lot, like I'll play him like a lot of soul samples and stuff, and that's how we make a lot of like your big, like the biggest producers that are a lot of people's favorites. That's what they're doing, because when they're in the room, unless they're that quick on the keyboards, which some are, like an artist isn't going to want to sit there while you make a melody loop. They just want to hear the vibe. If you already have the chords going, yeah, exactly. Or if somebody's like, you have to do your drums and audio versus me, like, no, you don't. Like, oh, you have to do it this way. Like, you really don't. There's certain things. A lot of people say you have to side chain your kick to your 808. I don't. I don't usually. I have before and it sounded good. There's plenty for bass music and EDM. Yeah, I get it. Totally get it. For rap shit, pop music, beats like that, you don't want to hear the 808 duck. Like I would rather use track spacer if I'm doing it, because then the whole 808 signal is not going to duck, and it's just like we're just carving out a space in that 808 for the kick to fit in. It should, like, the kick should be the puzzle piece for the 808 to fit in there. It shouldn't make everything else dip. And whether you do that with EQing, whether you do that with a little side chaining, track space, doesn't matter. So it's dope, but anytime people are like, "Oh, you don't even side chain, like you don't even know," it's like it's like I saw it was like Nav went viral like a month ago because he was like, "These other producers can't. They got nothing on me. They don't even know what side chaining is," and it's just like, why? Why are you the way that you are? But yeah, no, once again, check out those Dr. Dirk tutorials, Sap Secrets of the Pharaohs. It breaks down 2 songs. Everybody go check those out. Go check out his music. Dude was a generational talent. But yeah, no, I'm very, very happy that they all came into my life when they did, because I was on the fence of almost stopping producing, because I was just like, man, I feel like I'm not getting any better. Like that's the final tip. You can work your ass off by yourself and see a lot of progress, but there's an invaluable quality to being around other people who are going to have different perspectives and different strengths and different weaknesses and what they bring to the table, because they're going to make you think differently. You're going to learn something new. You're going to teach them something and realize that you understand a concept well enough to teach it, stuff like that. Because I always like to try to learn different techniques from different people, because it's all about the team. It's all about the people you have around you. It's all about who's pushing you to do better. Like with the Particle guys, it's always like a fun, friendly competition in the beat battles. You know, who's doing the dopest shit, who's got the coolest drums this week, who's got the sassiest, most character in their stuff, you know, like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And everybody's helping everybody. But in the age of Discord, everything else, like, take the time when you're just by yourself alone experimenting. I do that. It's important to have put in many, many hours like that. But you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not trying to find a community, because I credit my success to those other people who taught me so much or told me about something new that made me want to go experiment and inspired me to do X, Y, and Z. So, you know, whether it's a Discord or a meetup group or just friends or whatever else, like, that's important in the networking aspect. You know, everything else, that's all good too. But just there's nothing else like just making friends with people and being able to learn from each other.
I think that's beautiful. You really spoke to me there. I'm tearing up, but that's for
I mean, I I told my friends, like, when I got here, like, through everything, like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Like, that's what I told my friends in Denver right before I left for my audio program. I was like, I wouldn't be taking this as seriously as I am if it weren't for the hundreds of hours we've spent doing this.
Right. Yeah. It's uh community is key, and you forget that I don't know, I forgot at times when I was like grinding and trying to get better at Ableton alone in my room, like why isn't this fun? And I was like, well, usually when I'm listening to music and like exploring ideas, I'm with a lot more people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the worst, is when it's not fun and you're in like a beat block or something like that, because
Yeah.
you want to have that creative release. But if it's not fun and it's not enjoyable, then you don't want to do it, and then you can't get that creative release that we're all trying to get every single time we open up the DAW.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes having those other people around give you a fresh perspective, or just anything else.
Well,
because
perspective
that's
is everything.
Like, I knew when I first met my rapper friend in like when I first met Rugby in the session, like, we were just chatting for like 5-10 minutes first and just fucked with each other. Like, I think before you make music, before you should ask to collab with somebody, I think it's generally, unless it's just like you're already both aware of each other's music and it's like, yo, I've been listening to you for a while, you're dope, would you want to work? Like, there's always something to be said for that. But I think trying to like build a genuine relationship with someone first before being like, hey, let's do music or whatever, like, that's important.
Right.
Most everyone I've collabed with, I was friends with first and then did it later. And maybe the first couple collab ideas didn't work out because you're still figuring out each other's styles. Gurf and I are lucky, where like I would just send him shit and he'd just finish it, and I would just be like, this is crazy. But yeah, I know I rambled on a lot intermittently throughout that whole thing. I hope there's some good gems in there. If there's any other like hyper specific production things, mixing things, plugin things, stuff like that, you've got any questions on,
I think we're
happy to try to answer.
I think we got, me and hopefully the audience got our fill of hyper specific audio production stuff. I mean, the point of this podcast is I love getting to know hyper specifics. But you know, like if but it'd be a little different like if you wanted to break down like this, you know, like a new EP that you were working on. I get, and also that being said, I like keeping the podcast kind of focused around around the artists that I'm interviewing. So
Yeah.
So
the story, all that. Yeah, no, that all matters.
Absolutely, it matters. Do you have any are you I guess if we're wrapping things up, I just want to ask, like, what do you think the Danforth project looks like in the future going forward?
Man, so it was like in such purgatory, because I mean, it's obvious how much I'm not uploading on SoundCloud as I kind of pivoted. So Rugby Wild and I probably have 20 songs at least just in the vault. We have 2 that are currently out on his Spotify. Highly recommend checking him out. Very, very talented rapper from New Jersey originally. He's out here in LA now. And we've just been exploring a lot of different styles. He did a lot of like boom bap kind of Dreamville sounding stuff, but
Yeah.
he can also sing and do kind of like Smino-y type stuff well. So we've been exploring that. But it's going to be a lot of me working with other people. I still want to post a couple random edits here and there, but
Right.
especially with how serious the copyright stuff is on SoundCloud now, those like that Baby Keem thing will probably end up on Audius. I want to start putting beats out on like TikTok and stuff like that more. What I struggle with the most is like the social media shit. My brain is I'm not a natural at it.
You're not alone. I complain about that every podcast essentially, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone who's not really good at it does, because it's like all that matters at this point.
It crushes my soul. I think I could be good at it, but it crushes my soul to the point where I have no motivation to be good at it.
Well, and I'm so mad too, because I watched the train leave with the golden age of SoundCloud and like watched my friends go from 2 to 10,000 to 30,000 SoundCloud followers really quick
Yeah.
over the span of like a couple years when reposts and like SoundCloud put like people were like touring off one remix.
Dude, it was crazy,
SoundCloud.
man.
It was
like,
crazy. And now it's so oversaturated and SoundCloud just kind of ate itself. Like you can't cut through the noise at all. And you just have to be like a influencer posting every day.
yeah, or you
gotta
have
be a
to,
slave.
in my opinion, you have to also get on like, you have to just get on like 5 different labels or 10 different labels now, instead of just like one label reposts you. You're right. The weight of being reposted by like I don't know, like Trap Nation versus like, I don't know,
Dude,
like,
I remember the first time my friend reposted a boom bap EP I did, I went from 30 24-hour plays to 700.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I haven't had a big spike in my plays because I have like 30 mixes out on SoundCloud, and you know, they've been out for a while, but uh, all the music that has been on there has been pretty low key, but I haven't seen any like spikes. Normally, you see like spikes every now and then.
Here's what I hate to say: Skrillex has like 1 million SoundCloud followers, and when he posts a song on there, he gets like 125,000 listens.
What is the remedy, man? I have no idea. Just audience at this point, maybe.
I don't have one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, the future is going to be a lot of me just trying to produce for other artists. I'm working with Rugby Wild. I'm working with this dude Kobwasa. He's very dope, kind of like disco, house rap, funk,
Nice.
Anderson .Paak fusion type stuff.
I like that.
Whoever I like and want to work with and actually reciprocates and like follows up, I'll work with. But as I don't have to tell you, so many artists are all talk or they're impossible to get a hold of or whatever else. So anytime somebody has like a matching work ethic and actually like shows up,
yeah,
I keep those people close and make an effort because they're a lot rarer than you think.
Right. No, there's a ton
a number of times I've been told, "Oh, these
flash.
beats are hot. Let's work." And then the second you follow up and you're like, "Let's actually make this happen," and then they're like, "Okay." Like
I didn't. It's like that SpongeBob meme. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's that, or they don't want to finish. The worst. I've had collabs with people like this. They just refuse to want to finish the song. They always want to tinker with something, mess with something else, and I'm like, dude, the song's done.
Yeah.
Like we got to just call it. The average listener is going to listen to this through MacBook speakers in the background while doing dishes. Like they're not that hyper focused on. That's the hardest thing you have to remember as somebody who's creating and making all this art. That's like your baby. You love music so much. It's just like the listener does not care about like 80% of the things that you're worrying about while making the song.
Try 90.
It's just like, do the drums hit hard? Is it in key and on B? Is it interesting? Is it not overdone or whatever else?
Yeah.
If those 4 things are all there, then you're doing well. And it's a lot harder to get that right, like to check those boxes. But that's all you really need.
The main question of the average listener is, does brain feel good?
Yeah, exactly. Is it loud enough to just feel good? Because there's so many times where you like hear something that's like a good idea, but it's just not hitting right. So people, especially like if you're working with artists or you're showing it to your friends, they're not going to have that language to be like, oh, the drums aren't punchy enough and need to hit harder and be compressed more. They're just going to be like, it's just not hitting right. It's just not sounding right. I don't know what it is. Like the melody's there, but it's just, there's something off about it. Like, it's not right. It's not exciting. It's not exciting the ear.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's one of the biggest hurdles I think to come across or to overcome as a producer is understanding that.
And seeing other producers, especially like the big producers that send their stuff out to get like mixed or whatever else, if you are able to just do the most basic mix and just have it be loud and hit hard, that puts you ahead of so many people.
Nice. Good
because they don't want to take the time. Like if you really, I'm learning this now, not in like a cocky thing or whatever, but since it's been like I've been at it now for like 8-9 years, if you have put in those 10,000 hours, you know, the cheesy thing or whatever, like you'll start lapping people eventually. Like if you've really locked in and dedicated time to experimenting, learning workflow, learning how to just make stuff sound right, using the right sound selection. So a lot of people ask just like, oh, why are those drum sounds hitting so like why is it? I'm like, well, a lot of it's just good sound selection. Start with good source material, good drum packs. There's a lot of those out there for bass music. Check out Gangus's drum packs. He's got them on Selfie, I believe, or Gumroad. The Monty Booker kits, the kits on Reddit. Like, there's so much out there. With Partica, like those dudes are always cranking out kits.
Right.
That's that stuff's invaluable.
Yeah,
shit
shit in, shit out, as I like to say.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to link up and make this happen.
Yeah, me too. We've been I feel like, well, you've been in my Discord chats now for like years now, and I've seen you in my SoundCloud messages, man. It's been thank you for the talk. Thanks for coming on the show.
That's crazy to me. Thanks for listening, man.
Yeah, just been lurking here, dude. That's what I said at the beginning of the show. I'm sure you got some lurkers around.
Yeah, I mean, I always like I'm bad at checking those messages and other stuff, but like anytime someone would ask for advice or like whatever else, I would always try my best to reach out because like I know how it is when you're just trying to reach out to people and learn basic things or whatever else, and you get like cool guide by people. Like that's dumb. Lame.
Yeah. Well, for
like,
me,
so if anyone ever takes the time to send like an actual thoughtful like message that's not just like collab bro or like, you know, like whatever else. My least favorite messages I get are the ones that just say hey, and I'm like what? Like where do we go from here? You hit me up. Like
hey. Yeah, you just say hey, but there's not a lot to do with that. Well, yeah, man, if you want to, I'll send you an invite to my Discord server, speaking of community and all that stuff. Partica's okay, I mean, I'm not putting anyone on blast. I just don't use Partica's Discord server anymore. Not because it's too big, but because I don't know how to use it. Like there's a bunch of rules now that I don't understand.
There are? You see, that's the other thing. I haven't been on in a while. I figured it was just
like server rules, like stuff that like I can't post anywhere, dude. And I'm sure it's not as complicated as I'm making it seem, but I just can't use it.
Oh, I just posted this in the main chat. Maybe they're gonna have a problem with that. Who knows?
Who knows, dude? I don't know. I don't. That's for sure. You're just asking the wrong person.
I feel you, but yeah, man, send me that invite.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty bad at hopping on Discord, to be honest, but I'll try to slide through every now and again.
Yeah, dude, no worries. It's just be cool to have you in if you just want to get pinged or anything like that, because it's all about essentially production education and like beginner intermediate stuff. Nothing too crazy, not too flashy, but yeah, man. I think you gotta head out. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna play you out once we say our goodbyes with a song.
Okay.
And that song is looking like it's gonna be Lifeboat.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. The producer Ken I was telling you about, he makes Crazy Halftime.
Yeah.
He's on Courteous Family with all of them. He's rapping on it.
Okay.
He's like the first rapper homie I work with. He's who's in Fort Collins.
Oh, okay. Well, a small world, dude.
Yeah.
Very small world.
Right?
That's all right. Well, fuck yeah. I might actually inquire about that later, so we'll talk.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. But to anyone else listening, thank you, Danforth, for being on the show. And please check out the Discord server in the description. I can't produce a Discord server either, and it is one where you can talk to friends, past producers that have been on the show, some of them, and you can post questions, find tutorials. It's just a community of people who are trying to learn more about wibbly wobblies and sounds. And yeah, please share the video with a friend or two, or maybe someone you hate. Just share the video. Seriously, please do that. And yeah, thank you, Danforth. This is oh yeah, let's say goodbye, and I'll be playing you out with the Lifeboat, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope hope who's ever listening got something out of this. And yeah, I'll be around.
All right. Bye, chat. Goodbye, everybody. See you in the future. Peace.